On Easter Monday 1916, a group of visionaries who shared a dream of a united Ireland made their way through the city. At 12:30pm the tricolour was raised on the corner of Henry Street as Padraig Pearse made his way onto O'Connell Street, then known as Sackville Street, to read the proclamation. A short time later the first shots were fired from the GPO towards Nelson's Pillar and the 1916 Rising had begun. Patrick O'Connor, a young man from Rathfarnham, Dublin, had taken his place by Pearse's side on that journey and bore witness to the fierce battle that raged for 6 days and set Ireland on a historical path that ravaged the country over the next century. Patrick O'Connor watched on as members of his garrison lay bloodied, wounded and dying, while those who still survived inside came under heavy fire. Finally, after 6 days of battle, Pearse made the decision to surrender to save any more civilian casualty. Patrick was arrested and sent first to Wakefield prison and was then interred in Frongotch prisoner camp. Later, on his release, he engaged in struggles against the infamous Black and Tans. Patrick O'Connor died and was buried with full military honours in Glasnevin Cemetery, escorted to his resting place by a guard of honour of his old comrades.
In 1916, the South Dublin Union Workhouse, a 50-acre site stretching across the Liberties in Dublin, made up of several buildings that housed the insane and destitute of Dublin, the scene of some of the bloodiest fighting during the 6 days of the Rising. On Easter Monday, April 24, 1916, Eamon Kent and his second-in-command, Cathal Brugha, set up the 4th Battalion, Dubliners, Fusiliers, headquartered at the Nurses Block in the centre of the site, Rialto Gate and James Street, but burrowing through internal walls and creating alleyways they could circulate safely, relaying messages and plotting with their comrades in Marylebone Lane and Watkins Brewery in Ardee Street, and Jameson Distillery and many other sites throughout the Liberties. On Thursday morning, April 27, 1916, the British arrived.
Arguably the first armoured vehicles used by the British Army in Ireland were the Guinness Daimler trucks that were hastily converted into improvised armoured trucks in 1916. Engineers riveted 4 locomotive smoke boxes together to make the steel body for the troop compartment. Firing ports were cut in the sides for the soldiers to use their rifles. They also painted many black spots on the outside of the smoke boxes to resemble the firing ports in an effort to confuse the rebels. One can only begin to imagine the noise inside these vehicles, with the soldiers firing their weapons from inside and the bullets from the rebels hitting the outside on the vehicle.
Michael Mallon was the garrison leader stationed in Stephen's Green, and he was second in command to James Connolly in the Irish Citizen Army. Even though many people of the time questioned Mallon as a prominent leader, he is still remembered today within the Liberties as a very active member of the Rising. Though through his defence he claimed he had no prior knowledge that a rising was going to take place. He was executed at Kilmainham Jail on May 8, 1916. His written words to his wife were, "This is the end of all things earthly," and touchingly closed the buttons of his tunic. His letter profoundly shaped the lives of his young children and even a daughter, Maura, who was born 103 days after his execution. Like me, Maura Constant Mallon Phillip was born in the Coombe Hospital, and her godmother was Constant Markovich, who had been second in command in the Royal College of Surgeons at the time. Her mother Agnes had to go back to work in the South Dublin Union, now St James's Hospital, in the heart of the Liberties. By the 1920s, Ireland was an Irish Free State under Cosgrave, and he provided allowances of 30 shillings to each family. However, Maura was told hers was reduced due to her father, Michael Mallon, not signing the proclamation. So, unlike her siblings, Maura did not attend boarding school and was schooled at home.
Cumann na Man is an Irish Republican women's paramilitary organisation formed in Dublin on the 2nd of April 1914 as an auxiliary of the Irish Volunteers. On the day of the Easter Rising, 40 Cumann na Man members entered the General Post Office on O'Connell Street in Dublin with their male counterparts. A number of Cumann na Man members died in the 1916 Rising, including the first female casualty, nurse Margaret de Keogh, who was shot dead outside the South Dublin Union in Dublin 8. The Countess Markovich was undoubtedly the female lead of the Easter Rising. Born in England in 1868, Lieutenant Markovich was appointed second in command to Michael Mallon in St. Stephen's Green. She supervised the setting up of barricades as the rising began.
As Ireland's and possibly Europe's oldest public house, the Brazen Head is a part of the historical fabric of Dublin and plays part in most events that this city had experienced. The pub was almost destroyed in the Easter Rising of 1916 and again during the Civil War in 1922, but it still stands and thrives in Dublin today, and its walls maintain the great and scandalous secrets of Irish history.
Friday, 28th of April. The Dublin Fusiliers were headquartered at St. Catherine's Church and held the line along Thomas Street. A picket of Dublin Fusiliers under Captain McNamara was placed in the Robert Street grain store as part of the force surrounding the South Dublin Union. Mr. McMullen of Guinness's Brewery informed Captain McNamara and his sergeant, Quartermaster Robert Flood, that the night watchman on duty would have access to the storage via the bridge.